Hello everyone, it's me. I'm trying to get my chat set up. Okay, let's see. On my fold, but it's just simply not working. I don't know why. I just have it on the computer, so I can just have my little remote control on here. Not that I've got anything crazy going on StreamYard, but that's okay. Alright, well here we are. Hello and welcome. It is time for ranking every phone that I've ever owned. You don't believe that. Look at all these phones that I've had. Some wonderful phones here. I can't wait to talk about it all. I hope this looks okay. I hope it sounds okay. Um, Hit me in the chat if it sounds bad. But here we go. Let's get right to it. Let's see if the chat's working. It says I have no live broadcast, but I do. One second. Try this one more time so I just feel like it'd be cool to have it on my fold. Let's see. How's everybody doing out there tonight? First ever live stream, can you believe it? It continues to say that I have no live stream. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. So yeah, I've got every single phone that I've ever had on here. And, oh wait, hold on. Let's see if this thing needs to work. 1 second, please. So yeah, we've got every phone that I've ever had is on this tier maker that I made. And so we're going to be ranking every single one. And we gotta have so we've got S tier. That's like top of the line, best phones we've ever had. A tier is good, not like the greatest of all time, but still a really solid device. Um, B is like solid, nothing too special, but like a really good phone. That's like a passable phone for most people. And then C is going to be like right on the borderline of being not so great. And then D is not so great. That'd be like the worst tier phones that we have there. Got the chat out up on the fold, so if you want to send me a message, just type it into the chat box. You got a question or something like that, I'll be happy to answer questions. If something sounds bad, just let me know. And let's get it started. So, here we have the iPhone 5. So this was the first uh, iPhone. I think this is the first phone I ever just bought for myself. I remember I got it. We went on a football trip to Dallas, and I got it at the Apple store there. My mom actually went and picked it up for me, but I bought it off the Apple website. For the 5, I think I'm going to go with the B on the 5. It's a really good phone. That was a long time ago. It was really small, but back in the day, that was a really good one. It was the first iPhone to have LTE. I remember we took a baseball trip to Lubbock, and I was so pumped because Lubbock got LTE before Amarillo did, and so I was like, sweet, we're going to Lubbock, I can get LTE. What a nerd. So next up, this is the Galaxy S6 Edge. This one I saved up like $300 to be able to upgrade early with AT&T, and then I had it for like 2 weeks, and I dropped it face down at the pool and just completely shattered it, like chunks missing out of the screen and everything. Not great, but it's a good phone. I would say I'd put it in a B tier. It was really had some cool features. It had a heart rate monitor on the back. I think I did like a stress measurement. Samsung has their stress measurement things. But it was a good phone. It just mine broke so quick. And then after about, a little bit less than a year. We went on a trip to Seattle, and it died so many times that I just replaced it because it was the battery life was so terrible. Um, oh, you can see Togo. There he is. Hello. Next up, we got the S21 FE. So this is the fan edition of last year's S21. Came out in January of this year. I had this phone for like a week before I changed to iPhone in January, and it's a solid enough phone. It only has 6 GB of RAM. It really isn't enough for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a B. But for most people, I would say it'd be a really good phone. So next here, let's see. We got the OnePlus 9. So I got this phone in October of last year. Yeah, this was after I started at T-Mobile in Weatherford. It's a good phone. I used to be the world's biggest OnePlus fan, but uh, kind of fallen off. Software, they merged with Oppo, and it's not really my flavor. And this phone just felt kind of cheap. The rails on it are plastic, and I don't know, it just didn't feel right. I'm gonna put it at a C. All right, take a sip of water. So this next one, this is the second generation iPhone SE. So I got this. It came out in March or April of 2021. I got it in July of 2020 when I was leaving that T-Mobile store in Amarillo and I was moving to Weatherford. I got it so that my bill wouldn't be as high because I was losing my employee discount. And it's a good phone. For me personally, it was a little too small. Battery life wasn't great. It was powerful. I think it's solid enough for most people, I would say. But it is small. I'm gonna go with a C on that one. And I had to turn off noise cancellation was on my headphones and it sounded weird. Next up, the iPhone 13 Pro. So this was got this in January. I used it up until about I think October of this year. It's a really good phone. Had great battery life, great performance, great camera. I'm not really an iPhone person, so I stopped using it. I'm gonna put it. I don't know if it's quite S. I'm gonna go with A. Yeah, I'm gonna go with A. It's a really good phone, but like I said, I'm not an iPhone guy. And S21 Plus. So I got this. I replaced the SE. This was when I got my tax return in 2021. Got the S21 Plus. Um, really good phone. The only real knock on it was battery life. They don't put very big batteries in like the base, like S21, S21 Plus. They kind of save the larger cells for the Ultra, but it was a really good phone. Watched a lot of Starship live streams on it for like 12 hours, and it was great performance, outstanding display. It's a great looking display on that phone, and a good looking phone. I did have this purple version just like that. I'm gonna go with the A for the S21 Plus. It was a really good one. All right, so we got the Z Flip 4. So I only had my Z Flip 4 for about a week. I got it on an employee deal from Samsung, and then I traded it to a guy for my Fold 3. But the Flip is a lot of fun. It's a really fun device to use. Again, a real big problem with it is battery life because it's so small, and they have to split the battery into the two halves of the phone, and it just doesn't really work super well. So, uh, battery life is a big struggle with that one. I feel like having to open it up every time is kind of fun, but it does get kind of annoying sometimes. And the cover display is not super useful on the Flip. I hope that's something that they change with the Flip 5. But I'm going to go ahead and give the Flip 4 a B. Like I said, really fun phone. Of course, there are some durability concerns with folding phones still. So I think a B is probably pretty solid there. All right. iPhone 7 Plus. Sorry, I'm gonna grab the drink real quick. So, the 7 Plus. I bought this one while I was in class because I was sitting there. I had my Nexus 5X at the time. I was sitting in class with my Windows laptop, and I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice if I could get my messages on my laptop while I'm in class? So I ordered an iPhone 7 Plus, and I bought a MacBook Pro, and it was pretty cool. Like I said, I'm not really an iPhone person, but this one I really, really enjoyed. I had this version, the Jet Black. I'm pointing at it. This version, the Jet Black 7 Plus only came in the 128 gigabyte storage, so it was like an extra $100. But I had to have it because it was Jet Black. I think I'm gonna go S for the 7 Plus. I think a lot of people either had a 6S or an 8. A lot of people missed the 7 generation. I really love that phone. I think that's probably the phone I had for the longest on this entire list because I think I had it for about 3 years. Really, really good phone. So next up, this is a Pixel 6. So I got this guy last year when it came out in October. I think I got it like the day it got to our store. Um, Great phone. I love the Pixel 6. Outstanding camera. It's got Magic Eraser. All the features that I detail in the 7 Pro review. A lot of them were also on the 6. There were a couple of software bugs when it first came out. They kind of made it a little more difficult to use. So that was a little bit disappointing. But overall, it was great. It did have a tendency to get hot. That was the one thing I really noticed about it, was that it would get hot pretty frequently, especially if you were like watching a long video or watching a video on charging, that kind of thing. I kind of struggled with that, the thermal management there. So I think for the Pixel 6, I can go with an A. That was a really, really good phone. That actually, I switched to the S21 FE from the Pixel 6 because I was like, oh, I'm going to try this one out. And really regret that decision because the Pixel was much better. And this is my first stream, so I'm still kind of figuring stuff out. And what I have learned is this little selfie light has some battery issues. That's okay. I think it'll last the rest of the time. We'll just have to see because it would not stay plugged in. Next up, Pixel 7 Pro. This review came out today, so if you haven't read it, give that a read. I love the Pixel 7 Pro. That's my doing my video right now is my Pixel 7 Pro. So I am going to put the 7 Pro. I went with S tier. It's an awesome, awesome phone. I love it so much. And I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, it doesn't have to be specifically about these phones. It could be about anything, any tech, anything, planes, aviation, anything I'm interested in. Just drop them in the chat and I'll answer them. So next up, another one of my favorite phones ever. This is the HTC One M8. This was the first, I want to say, like flagship Android phone that I ever had. So I had some other Android phones before, Motorola Backflip, this little ZTE phone thing that was awful. But the One M8 was the first time I ever had a flagship Android phone, and it was so great. It was the first phone to have, I keep pointing, I don't know why this is this. The first phone with a dual camera setup ever, and it had a really nice aluminum body. Dakota says, what about the HTC Evo 4G? Dakota, I am so sorry, I forgot about that one. I'm going to go ahead and say that that one's a D tier, unfortunately, because it was only on Sprint, and Sprint is the worst network out there. I'm just kidding, Sprint's not that bad, but at that time it probably was. So the One M8 had the great unibody aluminum. It had the dual front-facing Beats audio speakers, and HTC's Sense UI, one of the best like Android skins ever. So I'm putting that in an S tier. One of my favorite phones ever. Grab another sip of water. The iPhone XR, 10R technically. Um, this was a good phone. It's really nothing special. A lot of people have XRs and 11s. Uh, kind of, it was the cheaper mid-range iPhone of its generation. Not bad, not great, just really kind of middle of the road. Uh, really not even much to say about it. I'm going with the B. Definitely not bad. Well, this one right here. This is my first ever phone. The Kyocera Oyster. This was a Virgin Mobile prepaid phone that I always saw in Walgreens, and I really wanted it, really bad. So this is what I got for Christmas one year, and I was ultra pumped. Um, yeah, what a good time that was. I don't even know what year that would have been. Probably like 2008 or 2009. Probably like $30 at Walgreens. And I remember one year, I guess it was probably the same year, for my birthday, I wanted to get a Bluetooth headset to go with it so that I could listen to music on it, and it did not work at all. Um, should be a D tier because it's a flip phone, but because of nostalgia, I'm putting C. All right, the Fold 3. So if you've read my Fold 4 review, you know that I'm a big fan of the Fold 4. But the Fold 3 was really great when you're using the interior screen. Um, it's a big screen, it's got the under display selfie camera, so it's like a huge, big, expensive screen, but the outside screen was really not great. It was so skinny, it was like barely even usable, and then battery life wasn't super great, and the cameras were pretty bad on the Fold 3. So I think I'm going to go with the B. Um, the ability to fold kind of sets it above a C tier. So yeah, definitely a good phone. It's just now that I've used the 4, it's kind of hard to recommend that one. The Nexus 5X. So as I said earlier, this is the phone I replaced my S6 Edge with. Actually, I don't think I said that earlier. No, I didn't. Well, when my S6 Edge was having battery problems, I bought a brand new Nexus 5X off of Amazon for $250. Can you believe that? It was a good phone. The Nexus 5X was Google's phone, but it was actually manufactured by LG. It had really good camera for the time, good display. Of course, Google made software just like the Pixels. It was great, uh, especially for 250 bucks. I would put the 5X at an A tier. It's a really, really good phone. And it was, let me see, I can't remember exactly what the screen size was, but it wasn't huge. It was a really nice, compact phone, which means that probably it's like tiny by today's standards. Let's see what the screen size was. 4.95, so just a little under 5 inches. So absolutely tiny phone by today's standards. But I really enjoyed that phone. It was really good. The OnePlus 7 Pro. This is my, I think I'm going to go ahead and say this is my favorite phone of all time. It had a pop-up selfie camera, a completely uninterrupted screen, high refresh rate, really strong performance. Yeah, this is just, it's an automatic S tier for me. I miss this phone. I think I'm going to buy myself one, and I will probably use it as my daily phone. That's how much I love this phone. It is my favorite phone of all time. So next up, we've got the OnePlus 7T. So there's a funny story here. When I started at T-Mobile Amarillo, I really wanted a OnePlus 7 Pro or a 7T Pro McLaren. But we didn't have either of those in stock, but we had the 7T. 7T was like the mid-range version of the OnePlus 7 series. So it didn't have the pop-up selfie camera, but it had pretty much all the other things that, I was looking for. So I was like, well, we'll probably never get a 7 Pro in store, and the McLaren McLaren was like $900, so I was like, I'll just go with the 17. And then like 2 weeks later, a 7 Pro showed up. So I returned the 17, got the 7 Pro. Rest is history. Uh, the 17 is still a really good phone. I'm gonna go with a B on that guy. Okay, I mean it was a really good phone. Like I said, I had it for like 2 weeks. So. The OnePlus 8. This is, in my opinion, probably the last good OnePlus phone. I'm really hoping for OnePlus to make a comeback on the 11. As you can see here, I had quite a few OnePlus phones. Used to be their biggest fan. They've kind of fallen off. The 8 was really good. The only downside on it is that I traded in my 7 Pro to get it, and that was a huge mistake. But it's a really good phone. It didn't have they ditched the pop-up selfie camera. They just had a little hole punch camera in the corner. But it was fast. It was smooth. Uh, Curved screen, which I like. I do like curved screens. So I'm gonna go with a B on the 8. Here we go. Here's the classic, right? This is a Pantech Matrix. This was the last phone I had before I like got a real like touchscreen smartphone. It was a slider phone, but it slid both ways. So it slid up for a number pad, and it slid to the side for a keyboard. Just the coolest. Uh, I think mine was. I think I had this red one. There was another one that was black with like green buttons. That one was really cool, but I didn't get that one. Matrix. I think I'm gonna give it a C. It's kind of like the Oyster, like nostalgia keeps it from being like a bad phone. Alright, so this is just some straight talk slider phone that we got from Walmart that was as basic as it gets, and I remember distinctly I had 100 megabytes of data a month, and I went through that in about a day. So I'm going with D tier on the straight talk slider. This one here, this is a Samsung Focus. So this was a Windows phone. It's the only Windows phone that I ever owned. Um, I loved Windows phones. They're so cool. I wish that they would make a comeback in the same way that they were, which they won't because they were built after like Windows 8 when it had its tiles. Um, well, unlike the tiles in Windows 8, these are actually functional. They were super cool. They updated all the time. They were awesome. This was a hand-me-down phone from one of my friends. The phone itself wasn't that great. Probably gonna put it at like a C, but the Windows Phone experience, an S plus probably. That might be a little over the line, but it's fine. 3GS. This was a hand-me-down as well from a friend. It did not have a lock button, so I had to like wait for it to power off whenever it was like stood by too long. Yeah, I think it had like a cracked casing. It was pretty bad. It was in rough shape. Uh, for my personal 3GS, went with a D. It was pretty and it was long past like when other people had 3GSs. We were on like the 4S and I had the 3GS, so it's fine. Fold 4, dread my review, that's going to be an S tier. Does things that no other phone can. Just the coolest phone ever, in my personal opinion. Yeah, read the review if you haven't. It's a really great phone. I love it very much. Here it is. It's doing my chat. You can see Dakota's message again. Really cool. The coolest out there. This is some ZTE phone that I got because I think I lost or broke my Pantech Matrix or my iPhone 4. It was one of the two. It was like the cheapest phone you can get, and it was horrible. So it's going to go in a D tier. Speaking of horrible, this is the 2020 Motorola Razr, and it is horrible. When this phone came out, it was $1,400. It has a mid-range processor. It has a battery life of about 15 minutes. The screen has to be at max brightness all the time or you can't see it. The hinge, you can just feel every time you run your finger over it. It was a mess. I didn't even make it through a whole month with it. It was really disappointing. Thankfully, I did not pay $1,400 for it. by that time the price had dropped and I was on Jump on Demand. Terrible. Cody gets it. It's bad. It's a terrible phone. The Motorola Back Flip. Now this is another hand-me-down phone that I got from a friend, but man, it was so cool. It was a touchscreen, so as you can see here, I keep one here. This is in the folded out configuration. Um, so when it wasn't folded out, it was just like regular touchscreen, you know, and then you folded it out like that to get to the keyboard, and that was really cool. And it also had like a little touchpad on the back side of the top half of the phone whenever you're using it with the keyboard. So it's kind of like having a little like mouse pad on the thing. It was very cool. It had Moto Blur, Motorola's like skin. You know, everybody had their really like intense skins of Android back then. This one had like it had all your Facebook statuses and whatever else was going on then, AIM messages and I don't know, Skype. But it was a really cool phone. It did a lot of cool stuff. Moto Blur was cool back then. Doesn't sound that cool now, but it was really cool. We got the B on that one. And then that leaves us with one phone left, the iPhone 4. This was another hand-me-down. I had a lot of hand-me-down phones because I had rich friends growing up, and they uh, would get new phones, and I would say, "Can I have that?" Because I love phones. Dakota brings up the Moto Edge 2022. This was a phone that I got from Motorola, and it is not very good. I forgot to put it on the list here because it just sits in my locker at work. But I would put it at about a C tier. It does have a very good screen, but yeah, it's not that great. But the iPhone 4, back on that, uh, that one was a great design, other than the problem that I had with the antennas, where if you held it a certain way, you could just completely block the antennas. But the design of it was great. Loved the white one. That's the one that I had. Um, I remember my sister had a white one as well, and then she dropped it, and so she got it replaced at the mall, and she got green glass on both sides. It was very neat. Definitely not Apple authorized parts. But the iPhone 4 was awesome. First iPhone with a selfie camera, just a really good phone. We're gonna go with an A there. Oh wow, there was something here called presentation mode. That let's see what that does. Yeah, yeah, that would have been a lot better a long time ago, but that's okay. Yeah, so there's my tier list there. Uh, these are all my phones. Hey, look, there's me down the corner. If you want to follow me on Twitter, there's my name. Yeah, so as you can see, a little bit of an Android bias here. I do really like Android. 7 Plus was a really good one. Of course, Pixel 7 Pro and the Fold 4 I have right now, so that might be a little bit of recency bias, but I do really enjoy using those phones. And then the 13 Pro, again, really great. Not really an iPhone guy. I know Dakota has a 13 Pro and he's watching, so he's probably like shaking his fist. Then I got the S21 Plus, really good phone again. Pixel 6, Nexus 5X, iPhone 4, iPhone 5, 6S Edge, which might be higher if I hadn't cracked it like 2 weeks into it. Who knows? I guess it has some really cool features. It was the first like mass market uh, phone with curved screen. The, there was a Note Edge that Samsung put out the year before, well, not even a full year before, but it was only curved on one side, whereas this one was curved on both sides. S21 FE didn't have it very long. Fold 4 didn't have it very, or sorry, Flip 4 didn't have it very long. XR, middle of the road, you know, kind of just the basic iPhone. Fold 3, tiny screen, tight camera. 7T, added a little bit. 8, you know, does the 8 deserve to be there? I mean, it's a really good phone. Maybe if I had an 8 Pro, that would probably be an 8. Since I just had the basic 8, I'm technically going to leave that at B. Motorola backflip, awesome, but pretty old. Windows Phone, Windows Phone itself is an S tier. If I had an HTC One and 8 Windows Edition, that would probably be an S tier. The Pantech Matrix, all these, dumb phones, they're going to be a C, except for that one because it's terrible. The SE, the 9, both, kind of there. They're not great, they're not bad. And then these are bad, especially the Razer. I think the Razer may be the worst phone I've ever had. Well, at least it could function compared to this ZTE phone that I had from AT&T. That was just terrible in every way. Well, there we go. 30 minutes. I was afraid I was going to go through all these in like 5 minutes, so I think I did pretty well. Um, I'm thinking about doing a live stream, not super often. Um, just kind of when I have something fun to do like this, where it would be a little interaction. But yeah, so there we go. I hope you enjoy. Tell your friends. Come hang out with me. The blog on Instagram. Pretty cool.